My name is Charlotte, and today I want to talk about Venus entering into the sign Virgo on the 19th of September. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what Venus means in terms of love, relationship, things we enjoy, beauty, and then I want to talk about how it can show up in Virgo, the sign of refinement, attention to detail, practicality, service, work, and so on. And then I thought this is a good time to think about the love script blueprint that we all are carrying within ourselves. And this is based on, amongst other things, when you want to look in your chart, you look at the Venus in sign, Venus in house, and any of the planets in the chart that your Venus, natal Venus placement is in interaction with. And this will say a lot about your blueprint love story. So I will come to that later. Let's focus a bit on what Venus represents. So the way I see it, Venus is all things good in life, right? It's love, it's friendship, it's beauty, it's art, it's everything that you enjoy, good food, good company. It's also self-love and basically everything that you value. And so when it turns up in Virgo, Virgo is a practical earth sign, but it's ruled by Mercury, it's mutable. So it's all about service and, being a service, being helpful. And the typical love language of Venus Virgo will be, I'm doing something for you of, practical, in a practical way, something that I know would mean something to you because I paid attention to you and I see what your needs are and I will do it for you as an act of love. Venus in Virgo is also about discernment, like what do I like and what do I not like? And Venus in Virgo is known for being a bit critical, not only with others, but also with self. But in terms of with others, there's sometimes Venus Virgo want to create that perfection image of love, nudging their partner a little bit to create that perfection. And that's because within themselves, they always try to, refine and improve and, basically fine tune things about themselves that they always want to get to the highest standard. But, because Venus in Virgo is not about the grand gestures necessarily, just as Venus in Leo could be. This is more like a subtle support that somebody is seeing you and seeing what you need and is there with a helping hand. And that made me think a little bit about, that could apply feeling secure with somebody, that could imply, somebody has your back. It made me think about the blueprint of our love script. And what better time to use this attention to detail with Venus and Virgo to think about it and revise a little bit our own love script to see, is it still working for us? Is there areas of that script which is maybe not so conscious to us, or have you simply grown out of certain patterns? So if we think about Venus as the archetype of love and romance, this is something like they bring up, our first love. How did we receive love when we grew up? What was the blueprint of love instilled in us from an early age? We might have this big ideal about what love should be. And when you think about Venus, it is the goddess of love. It is all the fine things in life. And when we think about Venus in the zodiac, it rules two signs. It rules the earthly Taurus, and it relates to a lot of the physical pleasures like our body, sensuality, and enjoyment of nature, of taste, good food, of beautiful environment. It's about beautifying our own body and our look to become attractive so we can attract the person that we are interested in. And it's also about creating the materialistic security, the values that we want to have in our lives. It's related to very earthy kind of love. And Venus is representing all that in Taurus. But Venus is also ruling, of course, Libra, which is an air sign, and which is about relationships and how we connect with others, how we bring love in an outgoing way in order to meet somebody and to, appear interesting to them and to get our needs met in terms of relationship, whether it be friendship, partnership, or romantic love. And so here we are bringing different ideas of love together with somebody else to try it out. How does it work? We are giving, but are we receiving what we want to receive? How does it make us feel about ourselves? It's also about self-love here, because the saying goes, you have to love yourself in order to be able to receive love from others. But sometimes with this blueprint that we carry around, we actually already outsource that responsibility to a partner. So the blueprint I'm talking about is, how we grew up and how we received the caretaking and love from our closest. And we might look for in a partner some sort of familiarity or some sort of sameness. So let's say you had a parent that was not that attentive or not very present with you when you grew up, and you develop this, okay, that's how it is, and maybe I need to do more to please that parent in order to get the attention and validation and so on. And you might seek a very familiar pattern when it comes to relationship later in life without being aware that this is the blueprint that is directing who you're falling for. And it might feel good in the beginning. You say, oh, we are coming from the same area, we speak the same language, we have the same culture, we have some similarities in this area. But maybe we don't ask ourselves the real important questions about how do we want to be loved, and not necessarily how we experience love, but how can we get out of those limitations and those limiting beliefs about what love is supposed to look like for me. And it's really hard if we haven't experienced that kind of love that we dream of and that we, desire. And equally, we can have grown up with a different script where, for example, we ended up being the caretakers of the parents' emotional needs rather than the other way around. And so we run into partners where we are the one that take care of them, and we're giving all the time, and we feel that we can only receive if we keep on giving. So there's so many variations of how that love script might look. And, it's really important to know where that love script comes from. And especially, becoming aware of how we show up ourselves in order, to attract the person we would like to attract. So let's say we have outsourced the caretaking of our needs to our partner and say, well, I take care of you and I now expect you to take care of me. That's not really equal, because now we get into a guessing game. And if you have Venus in Virgo, yes, they are usually very detail oriented, and they pick up, oh, I heard you said you like lemonade, I got you a really nice one, whatever it is. But we can't always count on that the other person can guess our needs and can just supply us with, the kind of emotional and love needs that we have. So this is why I'm thinking about, this type of, when we seek familiarity, when we seek sameness, and it feels secure. Sometimes it's anything but secure. It's just a repeat of something we have been through before. And in order to change that script, that, of course, it requires a little bit of self-reflection. And especially looking at your chart can be really, really helpful to see where is Venus placed in your natal chart, what sign, what house, and what kind of aspects it makes to other planets. It would say a lot about it. If you have Uranus, for example, you might have this idea that I want a lot of freedom in my relationship, but at the same time, I want the closeness. If you have Neptune in relationship with your Venus, you might feel, I'm looking for this idealized love. And, but you will always be disappointed because humans are humans and we are not perfect, far from it. So it's important to have a look and see what kind of love are you looking for, and in what way do you show up in order to attract the kind of partner you would like to attract. So the fact that, Venus in Virgo is, it's reminding us about, love is also a verb. Love is practical. Love is action. Love is showing things, not just saying it. And because, the sign of Virgo is also about healing. And very often in relationship, we're looking for that person to heal and make everything okay. Everything that went wrong in the past. If we could just meet that one person, this new person, that will erase all the bad experiences, and we can now finally have a good experience. But this is all about us taking responsibility for our own happiness, our own love and self-care and self-love. And that's a good place to start in order to be more whole, have more wholeness within ourselves when we meet, the right person. So that what we bring is not somebody who needs a lot of healing and for somebody else to take care of all our needs, but we come more fully put together in the way that we know what we need, we know our worth, we know that we are willing to show up and give and be curious about the other person, and not just like with Virgo, Venus and Virgo can sometimes be super critical, as I mentioned earlier, because they want to create this perfect love, this perfect person, and nobody is a perfect person, and that's why they can get into being very critical. But it's because they also hold themselves to a very high standard. So this is a good time to look at your own love story blueprint in your chart and think about, as Venus is going through Virgo, revise that and maybe pay attention to yourself and see, just look at how you express, desire and love, and how you come across, and don't forget about that self-love. So enjoy Venus in Virgo, which will happen on 19th of September, but also maybe start some journaling, start to look at the previous relationships, what worked, what didn't work, how was it when you grew up, what can you take with you, what do you absolutely not want to take with you, and hopefully you would start some thoughts and reflections, and hopefully you can start to rewrite the story in the direction that you would like it to go. So feel free to make comments if you have any wisdom of love to share, or just want to, put some comments out there about how it's been for you, some learned experiences. That would be great to hear from you all. And thank you for watching. And I hope to see you next time, and hope you found it useful. Take care.